Sustainable car production. Is this nothing more than pie in the sky? Is it worth investing more to survive in the highly competitive global car market? Should sustainability trump sales figures?
Where do your raw materials come from? How much energy do you need to make the car?
How does Germany plan to assert itself against international competition?
Production emissions and also the recycling emissions of electric cars are more in the focus of German manufacturers than it is, for example, for Tesla or for some Chinese companies.
Why are German car makers #1 in terms of sustainability?
So those are the topics of the future. How is the car produced? That is becoming more and more a sales argument.
And why does Germany believe it can retake the lead in global competition?
There's an opportunity for the German car industry to redefine themselves by doing truly sustainable things.
A new sense of self-confidence.
We can get it done.
New ideas.
Designed for recycling.
Welcome, Arnie. Welcome to the future.
Imagine a perfect ending. Show me something soulful, something with character.
German innovation.
Getting materials from the car back into the car.
In a sustainable cycle.
The goal is to use as few new raw materials as possible.
The recycling of raw materials, an idea with roots in German tradition.
We shouldn't use limited materials in a way that results in them being thrown away after use.
Where is Germany headed?
I very much trust in the intelligence and in the strategy of the German car manufacturer. They have proven that they can be very innovative in the past.
Peter Mock is a researcher at the International Council on Clean Transportation. They've published a study examining how major car makers are progressing towards electric mobility. Behind Tesla and China's BYD, BMW and VW are in 3rd and 4th place, with Mercedes in 8th. In a ranking of sustainable production, the Germans are on top, with BMW ahead of VW and Mercedes. Far behind are Tesla and BYD.
The German manufacturers currently are lagging behind in terms of electric vehicle sales. However, when it comes to production of electric vehicles, the German car manufacturers are performing relatively good, meaning that the production emissions and also the recycling emissions of electric cars are more in the focus of German manufacturers than it is, for example, for Tesla or for some Chinese companies.
And the question, how much CO2 is produced during the car manufacturing process, becomes all the more important as more electric cars prevail over combustion engines.
About 90% of the carbon emissions of a combustion engine car are emitted during driving the car, and only about 10% during the production and recycling of the vehicle. For battery electric cars, the share is different. About 50% of the emissions are caused during production and recycling of the vehicle, and about 50% are caused during the usage of the vehicles. So the share is shifting, and that is why for electric cars, the production emissions are becoming more important. And so those are the topics of the future. How is the car produced?
In 2013, Mock's work prompted the ICCT to take a closer look at diesel car emissions in the US. In the so-called Dieselgate scandal, American authorities accused Volkswagen of manipulating emissions data using illegal technology.
I truly think the measurements that we did, the vehicle emission measurements that we did almost like 7 years ago, I think it was, they really fundamentally, in the end, they really fundamentally changed the car industry. The whole Dieselgate has been a sort of catalyst for the car manufacturers. They were under the hardest pressure to change and to really change 180 degrees. They learned from Dieselgate that they should not cheat anymore. They should not fool the public and also fool themselves.
The Institute's current study shows that BMW in particular has developed into a role model when it comes to sustainability, followed by VW and Mercedes.
According to our rating, BMW is among the leaders when it comes to production of electric vehicles, clean production.
BMW has set itself an ambitious goal: to reduce a car's CO2 footprint, measured over its entire life cycle, by 40% of 2019 levels by 2030.
If you take the Paris Agreement seriously, it's not enough to just change the drivetrain technology. You have to look at the entire system, starting with where do your raw materials come from, how much energy do you need to make the car. So at the end of the day, it's about the full life cycle and the full impact that matters.
That's why a lot of emphasis is placed on sustainable means of procuring raw materials, not least with regard to the method of extraction.
Before we started purchasing lithium from a production facility in Argentina, we had 2 universities studying the production conditions in South America in order to really understand what impacts does production of lithium have.
Another significant challenge, global suppliers of various car components must also meet the sustainability criteria.
You have to classify your supplies from a risk perspective. So you have to look into country risks, into material risks.
And also the energy that powers the factories. All BMW production facilities are supplied with 100% green electricity. And in all areas of production, care is taken to use as little energy as possible. BMW even has its own energy officer to oversee this process.
Really look everywhere to find ways of reducing energy consumption. Every unused kilowatt hour is a good kilowatt hour. That's what we always preach to our employees. That's very important before we even think about what we're going to do with our energy supply. On the one hand, we have wind farms at our Leipzig site, we have photovoltaic systems in Mexico, and we have to look at each site individually. What possible solutions are there?
The core of BMW's strategy to reduce the CO2 footprint of a car is the so-called circular concept, a type of circular economy in which cars are manufactured. The BMW iVision Circular is the first prototype that design chief Adrian von Hooijdonk developed based on this principle.
We want to try to construct new cars from materials that have already been used to make automobiles. We want to create a cycle of materials so that we can make new vehicles from recycled material. So we reduced the number of components. We thought about it right from the start when we were designing the vehicle. How do you put it together? And how do you take it apart again?
Before von Hooijdonk even began the first sketches of his designs, he visited the RDZ, BMW's recycling and dismantling center near Munich. It's headed by Steffen Aumann. 10,000 cars are dismantled every year in order to research and optimize dismantling and recycling processes.
All designers come to us again and again, and developers too, and look at what we're doing here to help them design products. In principle, we start at the end and incorporate all the knowledge we gain from dismantling vehicles into the development of new vehicles. That means that right from the start, we're involved in the design process in order to create optimal cars for recycling. The goal is to use as few new raw materials as possible to build vehicles.
BMW has been making car parts from recycled plastic bottles, fishing nets and the like for more than a decade, and is now recycling the car itself as much as possible. With industry specialists and scientists, new shredding and sorting technologies are being developed to recover the car's original materials from the scrap that comes out of the machines at the recycling center.
It is about how can we optimize the sorting of the materials, steel, aluminum, glass, copper and plastics. How can we optimize these sorting processes? How can that be economically feasible?
It's always about how to get materials out of the vehicle.
So, let's start from the beginning. After the batteries have been removed from the car, all flammable elements, such as the airbags, are deactivated. And then they really get down to business.
This is an electrical disassembly device developed for BMW. What's special is that we can hold the vehicle and then hit it with a lot of force. And then we can remove all the components we want because of the materials they contain. The tough part is always the time it takes. So it's about how to shorten the time it takes to get hold of the material. And in order to carry out these special operations, we have tools that we can quickly swap out.
With special pliers, the wiring harness installed deep in the car can be removed in a matter of seconds. It's valuable because it's largely made of copper. Once all technically significant parts have been removed from the car, the body is reduced to a manageable size in the crusher. The latest shredders and sorters then process the scrap metal to recover the car's basic materials, which can then be used to produce parts for a new car. The BMW iVision Circular is a prototype built based on their circular concept. The first production cars based on this concept will be the Vision New Class models, which are set to launch in 2025.
The Neue Klasse, though, will mean a bigger step forward, because this vehicle has been designed from the outset with sustainability in mind.
Sustainably produced cars that conserve resources and have a low CO2 footprint have even managed to impress the Terminator. Arnold Schwarzenegger, the Hollywood star turned California governor, is featured in BMW's ad campaigns.
Welcome, Arnie. Welcome to the future.
They love me to do these commercials, you know, because I'm old enough to know about the good old days, and I know about cars.
We are talking cars. Show me something soulful, something with character.
What somebody like Arnold Schwarzenegger stands for, also when I look back at his time as governor of California, he has a very positive, solution-oriented attitude to climate change. So he will not discuss it like this is a threat. He will always say, we can get it done. We have technology solutions. And this is similar to the attitude where we have.
With the full force of the Terminator, BMW is challenging the electric top dog, Tesla. What really differentiates the two brands? Stefan Kaber has the answer. As a sustainability expert at EDAG, the world's largest independent development partner to the automotive industry, he's worked with all major car companies.
Tesla has produced a lot of disruptive moments, but Tesla is defining sustainability by far on the consumption of the fuel, more or less. So they say electrification is the major driver, that's clear, but the next step to reduce the carbon footprint of the vehicle itself, I think there the German OEMs are as far as Tesla or maybe in front.
And the high flyers of e-mobility, like Chinese market leader BYD, are also less careful when it comes to sustainability than BMW and co.
I think the sustainability aspect is not that eminent in China. It's not that hot topic.
Not only Germany, Europe itself is probably the region in the world where the consumers and the companies pay most attention inherently out of our own drive to sustainability.
Daniel Kichert understands the automotive scene from various perspectives. He led BMW's market entry in China and has worked for both European and Asian car makers. What he particularly likes about Europe is a tradition that began back in 1973, when Ferry Porsche presented a study detailing the concept of a sustainable car.
We shouldn't use limited materials in a way that results in them being thrown away after use. In other words, we shouldn't squander valuable natural resources and then throw them away, or just use up what's available to us and not think about whether any will be left for our descendants.
It goes without saying that VW today is also taking its cue from Ferry Porsche's message and trying to polish up its image and fill the gap in the market with sustainable cars.
We don't just look at the car, but also what comes before and after. Of course, we're a business, and it always has to be profitable.
The competition in the future will not just be about what drivetrain do you have. It will be about how have you managed the entire chain, including the supplies of the material that goes into the car. And here I think the race is open.
The Germans start a bit late in electromobility, but electromobility is a marathon.
In his studies, the automotive expert Stefan Bratzel looked at how the CO2 emissions of an electric car influence the purchasing decisions of people who want to save the environment from destruction by using sustainable mobility.
The ecological footprint will be a very important purchase argument in the future.
First step, you have to think what will be the next trend. And if you are following a trend or you are leading in a trend, then the people will buy your product. And if there are more people willing to buy your product, you can have higher profits. And what I really think is that for many people, sustainability is a factor, a quite important factor. To buy a vehicle.
But cars that are created in a resource-saving cycle have to be built completely differently than the cars we've had until now. New shapes, new technology, a difficult task for designers and engineers.
I don't find all these technological changes limiting at all. On the contrary, where technology changes significantly, there's actually no longer a rule book. The rules are rewritten. If you're not bold, you can't be economically successful. It's impossible. And we approach the new topics very proactively and see it as something that can present an opportunity.
Because the future isn't that far away. Oh, if I could, I would hug you right now.
Don't be silly. You're a car. You cannot hug me.
I can digitally hug you.
Innovation in small and large strides being taken in a challenging marathon, heading towards the goal of sustainable new mobility.
I very much trust in the intelligence and in the strategy of the German car manufacturer. They have proven that they can be very innovative in the past.
There's an opportunity for the German car industry to redefine themselves by doing truly sustainable things and also making their branding more sustainable, which can connect with the consumer. Because the European consumer, they want out of their own drive. They see if we not do something, the world is running towards disasters.
Are German car companies saving the world and with it themselves? Is the totally sustainable electric car the key to success? To ultimately be at the top of the podium in the race against Tesla and BYD? What do you think? Let us know in the comments.